Hi everybody, my name is Delaney Tardio, and today I'm going to share with you my special research presentation about the impact on child care options. For starters, I argue that the children of incarcerated mothers do not have access to fair or adequate care due to their mother's incarceration. So this topic is particularly important as maternal incarceration rates have increased in the last few decades, and according to Turney and Goodsell, they continue to rise. So as these rates rise, so do these children's vulnerability. I chose these three subjects of a child's life that are impacted: the effects of maternal physical absence, the lack of healthcare access, and developmental outcomes such as the psychological and emotional tolls. So here I have an infographic presented in order to give some context on the topic. There were three statistics shown that I believe are crucial to understanding the topic. So about 322,600 children have mothers in jail. There are 148,800 incarcerated mothers that have minor children, and 64% of incarcerated mothers lived with their children prior to imprisonment. So, to begin, researchers asked, how does a parent's incarceration affect children's well-being? Through non-experimental studies, researchers split up the well-being effects into four categories: behavioral, educational, health, and general stability. Stability was determined by household and economic stability, which was found to be impacted substantially as living arrangements were typically complicated to find, as the mother would be the primary caregiver. We saw this in the infographic previously. So first, the effects that physical absence brings from maternal incarceration is quite astounding. When it comes to their behavioral well-being, the absence isn't only physical but mental as well. The child's deprived of the emotional warmth and support from their mother, which is especially traumatic, says Turning Goodsell. Educational well-being is impacted as well. These children have low educational attainment, higher rates of school absence, and poor academic scores. Along with that, if college does end up being an option, the young adults with incarcerated mothers were found to be more susceptible to failing out of college. Lastly, according to Turning Goodsell, children with incarcerated mothers are also prone to poorer health. Their physical health problems were higher than their counterparts. Standard rates of health problems among children consisted of asthma at 8% and obesity at 15%. In children of incarcerated mothers, these rates are considerably higher. 14% suffer from asthma and 21% suffer from obesity. So, with these health issues in mind, let's jump to the next topic. So, within this second study, researchers observed the lack of healthcare options for children with incarcerated mothers. So, in order to examine the children's medical care, researchers conducted a study through surveys and interviews of mothers and their children. Out of the 9,418 children sampled, only 1,789, or 19%, of those children had incarcerated parents. So while this may not sound very significant, we will see how this actually impacts their healthcare. Out of those 1,789 children, only 60% of them received any sort of medical care within a year. Compared to their counterparts without incarcerated mothers, about 75% of them received regular medical care within a year. It's clear that children with incarcerated mothers struggle more in terms of their health needs. Additionally, when or if these children are placed in a foster care, their foster care health coverage is typically subpar and is not enough. Lastly, we are going to look at the developmental outcomes of children with incarcerated mothers, specifically the psychological and emotional impact. Within this short study, 117 children and their incarcerated mothers were interviewed. Internalizing and externalizing of emotions provided distinct numbers of differences. It was found that children with incarcerated mothers were highly likely to implement poor emotional regulation and anger management. Similarly, these children were not likely to express sadness, and it was determined that vulnerability was an influencing factor. So, how are children of incarcerated mothers viewed in the media? Likewise, the media has reports on incarcerated mothers and the impact on their children. The Oklahoma newspaper reports on the negative impact that mothers in prison have on their children, with author Tim Willert stating, In addition to depression, children experienced low grades, expulsions, and trouble with family and friends after their mothers were incarcerated. Another newspaper source, the Philadelphia Inquirer, says that a child whose parent is absent in prison is a child who is more vulnerable to the risks and criminal behavior that stalks many neighborhoods. So the Big Brother, Big Sister program actually originated in Philadelphia and has since become a core part of helping children with incarcerated mothers, as we saw in the infographic, incarceration rates having significantly increased. So, to analyze both the academic journals and media reports, I'd have to say that the media accurately represents the academic information. I believe this is due to the fact that children are studied so frequently in social welfare programs, as they should be, and when it comes to imprisonment and loss of a parent, there's a need to find what would best suit the child in helping them. Most notably, a child's development is imperative when it comes to reducing their chances of their own incarceration in the future. Both the media and academic journals had common themes of behavioral, emotional, educational, and social aspects. To end the presentation, I have provided a works cited slide with proper citations that demonstrate where I received this information. Thanks for watching.